Well, as I record this, election season in the United States is sort of starting to heat up. And my wife was talking to a friend of hers recently, dear friend, longtime friend, who they talk about all kinds of things. But for the first time, apparently, in their friendship, my wife mentioned the upcoming election. And it turns out this friend of hers does not vote, never has, or maybe she had, but she doesn't vote, had no time recently, and has no plans to start. This upset my wife, and she pushed her on it. And her friend gave, a bunch of the sort of usual reasons, but one of those was that there is a sense that it doesn't matter. Her vote doesn't matter. It's just one vote. And, especially in a presidential election, there's tens of millions cast. And what does it matter? What does this choice really matter? And I understand there's a kind of existential ness that comes into play. It feels like your ballot is just like one grain of sand on the beach. I get it. I get it. But one of the reasons I happen to like democracy is because it does ask us to choose. It asks everybody to make a choice. And I think the worst thought you could think, honestly, is that your choices don't matter. Your choices don't matter. And I don't just mean the choices you make at the ballot box, but all your choices. And this is why I love to write so much, in part, because when you write, you face the blank page and nothing's going to be put there until you make a choice. Nothing. And yeah, there are some choices you make which will feel sort of insignificant. Put down those articles, the thes and the a's and the ands. But you tie all those little choices, those simple sentences, the ones that don't feel revelatory together. And eventually you come to some big choice, the inspired choice, the choice that turns the piece. I know even in my little 400-word essays that I write for author, there's always a moment in it. And I know I haven't written the piece until this moment arrives where I have an inspired thought and I make an interesting new choice that takes the piece in the direction it's meant to go. But that inspired choice, that is built upon all the momentum of the little less inspired choices that preceded it, the choices that seem insignificant, that seem ordinary. The inspired choice, the big moment, doesn't happen in a vacuum. And writing, probably like no other practice I have in my life, has taught me that my choices matter. All of them matter. You have to believe your choices matter in order to write, because everything you write is a choice. You're choosing between one thought and another, between one word and another, between one plot and another, between one story and another. You're always choosing, and no one can do it for you. And everything that happens on that page is a consequence of your choices. The story you tell is a consequence of your choices. And it is not that hard to translate what you're doing on the page to the rest of your life. That just as the story you write is a consequence of all the choices you make, so too the life you live is a consequence of all the choices you make. And I know a lot of the choices you make, whether you're going to have caffeinated or decaffeinated, or whether you want that donut or not, or what movie you're going to watch. I know some of these seem so insignificant, including voting. I get it. I get it. But the truth is, every little choice you make has an effect. It builds and builds and builds on something. So care about your choices. It's really all you have. You can't control other people. Can't control, really, we can't control what happens necessarily in the government beyond voting, beyond donating or marching, I guess. But there's a lot we can't control in life that we're not meant to, but we can control what we choose. That's one thing that we have control over, and no one can really do it for us. So care about your choices all the time. You care about them at the page, and care about them when you walk away from the desk. They all matter because it's what you are. It's what you are in the end, the choices you make. So care about them. It just determines your life. It determines your path you're on. You're the author of your life. Care about your choices. That's right. Yes. Yes. Listen, thanks for tuning in. As always, hit subscribe if you don't want to miss a dose of this. And if you like it, say so. I love hearing from you. I almost always respond to comments. So until next week, this is Bill Kenower. Stay fearless.